Welcome to this explainer. Today we're taking a deep, data-driven look into Intuitive Surgical, pulling back the curtain on what is honestly one of the most fascinating economic engines in all of medical technology. Look, if you think this company just builds expensive surgical robots, you're missing the real thesis. We're going to completely dismantle Intuitive's business model and valuation layer by layer, relying exclusively on the facts, the data, and the core mechanics of their Da Vinci ecosystem. Get ready to rethink everything you know about hardware.
Okay, let's dive into this premium research blueprint. Here is our agenda. We'll start with the operating room Tollbooth, then unpack the Consumables economic engine. Next, we'll look at the 2025 financial snapshot, cover the Da Vinci 5 cycle, and wrap it all up with valuation and premium logic. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The Operating Room Tollbooth. To truly grasp what makes this company tick, we have to completely challenge our mental model of what they're actually selling.
Intuitive is usually described as just the company behind the Da Vinci surgical robot, but treating them as a traditional capital equipment vendor, that's the wrong framework entirely. Sure, a hospital might drop anywhere from $0.7 to $3.1 million for a Da Vinci system, but that massive capital purchase is basically just the entry ticket to the operating room. The real prize, the enduring economic moat here, is the recurring toll road of instruments, accessories, and services required for every single procedure performed on that machine. The robot simply opens the door. The recurring consumables are what actually keep Intuitive getting paid.
So the mental model boils down to this. The robot is the entry ticket. The instruments are the toll road, and the hospital workflow it creates, that's the moat. You aren't just looking at a standalone piece of hardware. You're looking at an entire operating system installed directly into the surgical suite.
Moving on to Section 2, the Consumables economic engine. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how the core mechanics of the business, under CEO Dave Rosa, function like a perfectly engineered flywheel. Look at how kinetic this process actually is. First, they place the Da Vinci system in the hospital. Next, surgeons and care teams spend countless hours training on this exact platform. Suddenly, the hospital has committed serious human capital and integrated this into their daily workflow, which pushes switching costs sky high. Then, procedure adoption organically grows across specialties. Think urology, gynecology, general surgery. And finally, the monetization hits. Intuitive sells the limited-life consumables required for those specific procedures. As utilization goes up, it justifies placing even more robots, and the cycle just keeps spinning.
But how exactly do they enforce this toll booth? Well, they don't rely on the honor system, they rely on hard engineering. Just read this specific detail from their disclosures. A programmed memory chip inside many instruments generally prevents use beyond the prescribed number of procedures. It's brilliant. It is literally DRN, digital rights management for surgical tools. Think of it like a printer refusing to print without an official ink cartridge. They legally and technically enforce a limited lifespan on their tools, meaning instrument replacement is mathematically tied to procedure count. You literally cannot bypass the toll booth.
And here is the financial weight of that toll booth. Intuitive earns anywhere from $900 to $3,700 per procedure purely from the instruments and accessories consumed during that specific surgery. And here's the kicker. It scales with complexity. Meaning, as surgeons tackle tougher, more complex cases on the Da Vinci, the toll rate for Intuitive actually goes up.
So the mechanics are ironclad. Limited life instruments drive recurring demand, those programmed chips strictly enforce the limits, and per procedure revenue scales perfectly with surgical complexity. The key takeaway here, tracking procedure growth is far more important to their bottom line than just tracking raw robot sales.
Let's hit Chapter 3, the 2025 financial snapshot. We've talked about the theory of the toll booth, now let's validate it with the hard data. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we've been talking about. Out of Intuitive's $10.1 billion in total revenue for 2025, a staggering 84% came from recurring sources. That's instruments, accessories, services, and operating leases. Only 16% came from actually selling the robotic systems themselves. Guys, this isn't the revenue mix of a hardware company. This is the revenue mix of a deeply embedded, annuity-like platform.
The sheer scale is just wild. Total revenue hit $10.1 billion, growing 21%. Instrument and accessory revenue alone was $6 billion. How'd they do that? By powering over 3.15 million procedures across an installed base of over 11,000 systems globally. That insane volume is exactly what drives their highly lucrative 66% gross margins.
Just let these numbers sink in. $10.1 billion in total revenue, 84% of it recurring. Over 3 million procedures passing through more than 11,000 installed systems. The profitability here is simply phenomenal.
All right, Section 4, the Da Vinci 5 cycle. In March 2024, Intuitive got FDA clearance for their newest platform. Let's see how this expands their moat.
The market penetration for the Da Vinci 5 has been exceptionally fast. They placed 870 systems in 2025 alone, and by the first quarter of 2026, it made up over 50% of all new system placements. Hospitals aren't just doing routine hardware refreshes, they are actively rushing to upgrade because of what this new platform unlocks.
So what makes the Da Vinci 5 such a must-have? Well, it brings force feedback instruments to surgeons and massive leaps in computing power, completely paving the way for future AI capabilities. It acts as a digital surgery hub, embedding Intuitive's tech even deeper into the hospital's IT and physical infrastructure. It basically makes the platform stickier than ever. Ultimately, Da Vinci 5 refreshes that massive installed base, commands higher average selling prices, and adds incredibly powerful digital optionality. It effectively secures Intuitive's Tollbooth for the next decade.
Finally, Section 5, Valuation and Premium Logic. With a market cap hovering between $160 and $170 billion, we need to understand exactly how Wall Street prices this giant.
Let's move to this and see how it builds. Wall Street uses a sort of hybrid industrial software valuation model here, stacking 4 distinct layers. First, they price in the current installed base earnings, that recurring revenue we highlighted. Second, they stack on the growth engine, projecting future procedure expansion. Third, they add a premium for product cycle optionality, like the AI potential of Da Vinci 5. And finally, they subtract a risk discount based on market threats. Intuitive trades at a massive premium, but let me be clear, that premium demands flawless execution.
We really have to look closely at that risk discount, because competition is becoming a reality. You have Medtronic's Hugo, CMR Surgical's Versius, and Johnson & Johnson's Ottava all vying for operating room real estate. Add to that the constant squeeze of hospital budget pressures and the rising threat of third-party remanufactured instruments aiming to undercut Intuitive's pricing power. These factors could seriously threaten their monopoly and cause rapid multiple compression.
It's a delicate balancing act. The bullish financials are undeniably strong, but market expectations are sky high. Maintaining this valuation demands uninterrupted procedure growth and a fierce defense of their Consumables Tollbooth against some very well-funded competitors.
So, the crucial point is this. We know the robot is the entry ticket and the instruments are the toll road. The economics are simply stunning, but looking at the landscape ahead, the ultimate question for any macro strategist or focused learner is, can Intuitive Surgical innovate and lock in their hospital networks fast enough to defend this lucrative toll booth before the competition finally catches up? I'll leave you to ponder the durability of that moat. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.